It all started on what seemed like a calm Saturday morning, the kind of day where the sunlight sparkled across the water, families fished quietly along the docks, and birds danced over the shimmering lake. But peace was about to shatter when an HOA board member, known among residents as Karen, marched across the pier, clipboard in hand, toward a man she assumed was breaking the rules. That man was Senator John Kennedy. Karen's voice sliced through the calm air. "Excuse me, sir, you can't park your boat here. This is private property, and you're in violation of HOA regulations." The senator looked up from the small cooler he was unpacking. A calm, polite, almost amused. He wasn't wearing a suit or tie that day, just jeans and a flannel shirt, blending in like any other resident. But what Karen didn't realize was that this wasn't just another boat owner, this was the man who owned the entire lake. At first, Kennedy tried to handle things kindly. He explained that he had every right to keep his boat where it was. But Karen wasn't having it. She pulled out a rule book, citing paragraphs and bylaws, insisting that outsiders weren't allowed to leave boats near the private dock. Her voice grew louder, her tone sharper, drawing the attention of nearby fishermen and joggers who paused to watch the scene unfold. Kennedy, known for his sharp wit and southern politeness, simply said, "Ma'am, I understand you're trying to do your job, but before you tell a man to move his boat, you might want to check whose water it's floating on." The crowd chuckled softly, not yet realizing the depth of what he meant. Karen blinked, confused, before demanding his name and calling the HOA president. Within minutes, 3 more members showed up, confident, ready to handle the situation. What they didn't expect was for Kennedy to pull out a folder from his truck containing the lake's original ownership documents. As he opened the folder, silence fell. The HOA president's face strained of color. The papers were clear. The entire lake, including the docks and shoreline, belonged to Kennedy's family estate, purchased decades ago. The HOA's private lake wasn't theirs at all. For years, they had been operating under false assumptions, collecting fees, issuing warnings, and even forming a fishing club that technically had no legal standing to use the property. Karen stammered, trying to recover her authority. Well, we didn't know. Surely we can find an arrangement." Kennedy looked out across the lake for a long moment before replying softly, "You know, ma'am, I've watched you fine people for things you didn't do, chase families off the stock, and charge seniors just to fish. Maybe it's time someone holds you accountable." That's when everything turned upside down. Within a week, Kennedy's legal team filed a formal notice revoking the HOA's unauthorized use of the lake. Their private fishing club was dissolved overnight. Local media picked up the story, and residents who had quietly suffered under the HOA's heavy-handed rules started cheering for Kennedy. But Kennedy didn't stop there. Instead of turning vindictive, he did something unexpected. He announced that he would reopen the lake not for the HOA, but for everyone in the community. "This lake should be a place of peace, not power," he said at a town meeting, his voice steady and heartfelt. "We're not here to own people. We're here to share what's good." Tears filled the eyes of several longtime residents. For years, they'd been told where to park, when to fish, how loud their kids could laugh. Now, Kennedy was restoring their freedom, the very spirit of community that had been lost. Karen, meanwhile, quietly resigned from the HOA board. In a surprising twist, she later approached Kennedy to apologize. "I was just doing what I thought was right," she admitted. Kennedy smiled and replied, "We all make mistakes, ma'am. What matters is what we do after them." The story went viral nationwide. News outlets framed it as a modern-day David and Goliath tale, except this time, the David turned out to be the actual owner of the stone. People everywhere praised Kennedy not just for standing up to arrogance, but for transforming a moment of conflict into a lesson in humility, fairness, and grace. By the end of that summer, the lake had become a symbol of unity. Families came together to fish, children swam freely, and even the former HOA members found peace on its shores. No more fines, no more shouting, just laughter and the sound of water lapping against the dock. And perhaps the greatest irony of all, at the same spot where Karen once demanded Kennedy move his boat became the site of a new community pier, dedicated in his honor, with a simple plaque that read, For those who believe kindness is stronger than control and truth always finds the surface, the message was clear and timeless. Power means nothing if it's not used with humility. And sometimes, standing up quietly with grace, patience, and truth is all it takes to turn the tide.